Oh.
So 5, 4, 3, 1.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. This pick and ban phase has already started off with a Zyra and a Lucian ban. We have two formidable opponents today. I'm Sit Straight, joined today by Andrew. Andrew, tell these people what's up.
Well, man, today we got another game of Prophecy Cup. We'd actually casted them last week on Wednesday, and we had seen a very, very heavy battle between First Blood Knights and Mithril, Mithril Gaming. And honestly, it was a beautiful series. It went to game 3, but unfortunately, we're not there for the full game. But today, we have another super interesting match. I wish I could remember the team names, unfortunately, but we will have to get into this draft phase while we're waiting around. We see a lot of solo lane presence actually banned out. The Aatrox and the Zoe banned out, one from each side, and the bot lane presence in the Thresh Lucian as well as the Zyra. What are your take on those bans so far?
Well, bans, they seem to be pretty standard to say for the most part. It looks like one side's kind of afraid of early aggression and then the pick potential of the Zoe, at least that's what I always see. While the other side's kind of afraid of a more skirmish-heavy, long, drawn-out fights, and Vayne locked in instantly. Yeah, that can go top or bot.
Yeah, the top or bot is very true. And then now as we look over here, the Vayne pickups start. Now I've seen Vayne as more of kind of, a later pick once you know the comp and you know it can really be effective. But I can't say I fully agree with it being picked this early. Whereas the other side, I do love the Urgot and the Xin Zhao. Urgot being such a heavy pick on the top lane, and especially when you have that Urgon banned out, you know that there's so few matches people are very comfortable with it against. And Xin Zhao with the current iteration with Hail of Blades is very, very strong.
Yeah, Vayne will actually have a hard time into Urgot too, so it almost forces it to go into the bot lane, and we're almost going to be imagining that a support gets picked up here following the Scion. Scion going to be the answer to Urgot here. Just as you say that Urgot doesn't really... Or no one has an answer to the Urgot, I don't think anyone has an answer to the Scion either. And that's kind of like, when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object.
Yeah, and that is very true, but it'll more come down to how these two interact in laning phase. Because even though you are right, there's not exactly, like an answer to the Scion eventually, he definitely has a lot of issues early, especially into Urgot, which is theoretically almost a range damage matchup that, depending on how they decide to play the lane, he can definitely bully the Urgot, and with a little bit of presence from Xin Zhao, they might be able to make that Scion much, much harder to execute. And it looks like in combination with that Vayne, they would go for a Nami, going for the double range, very poke heavy and very damage heavy, especially using that Tide Collar bonus.
Yeah, Nami was actually the support that I was envisioning them picking up here, and their answer immediately is going to be Blitzcrank. The Blitzcrank into Nami is actually not a hard counter, but it definitely ends up being one because we all know Nami's squishy enough that there really isn't an ADC that doesn't deal 5 autos and kill her.
Yeah, that is very true. That is kind of one of the tripes of a Nami pickup is that she is obviously very squishy, but it usually comes down to she can provide a lot of support with her team, especially when team fighting phase comes around, when you have that tidal wave, and especially if you ever get the Scion unstoppable charge used first, you can really get a lot out of that tidal wave, and you can really get a lot of, especially with something like the Vayne, where when you have all this disruption, she can just have a lot of free time to get down those silver bolt procs. But now as we get into the second ban phase, the Malzahar are taken away from the mid lane, as well as the Kha'Zix trying to get maybe a better jungle pick to go against the Xin Zhao. And then the other side, we have the Kai'Sa ban trying to pinch out the 80 carries, knowing that red side is not picked one yet.
So I'd actually prefer them not to ban Kha'Zix here. I don't know the teams too well, so I could just be like talking out of my you-know-what right now. But I tend to think that Kha'Zix is a pick that only thrives when he has a pick that has a lot of gank assist for him, and he doesn't have it in the Urgot. And the Blitzcrank honestly isn't going to be too much gank assist. He's actually just better at helping Kha'Zix when he invades jungles. So outside of that, yeah, I genuinely think that they would have been fine just not banning it and banning another mid laner like the Aatrox, like the Malzahar, maybe even an Ahri or an Lissandra.
Yeah, well, what it does scream to me is that perhaps they have an idea of what they want to play in the mid lane. That was going to be my first thought. Because the thing that we have to remember is that right now, Cassiopeia isn't banned out, Karthus isn't banned out, like you said, the Lissandra isn't banned out. There's a lot of different mid lane picks, and my original thought was that maybe they were trying to ban the Kha'Zix to be sure that maybe he didn't try to get something off of mid lane if they wanted something more mobile, like the Karthus or the Cassiopeia that wants to scale. But seeing that that's not the case and they just picked the Misfortune bot lane, it will mean that Sejuani, having gone all the way through the ban phase, will get picked up, as well as possibly the Aurelia in the mid lane, so we'll have to see what Drops decides to lock in.
Yeah, so it looks like they've actually kind of flipped the idea that it seemed as if they had against them, where they were trying to ban out, these, oh, it looks like, actually, I'm sorry, they're going to go with the exact idea that I had in mind, maybe go for Lissandra or Control Style Mage. Now it looks like
Yeah.
they cycle back into Aurelia. So yeah, they have flipped the script, and their idea here is to, instead of having the mid laner enable the jungler, like it would happen with like a Malzahar and a Kha'Zix or a Lissandra Kha'Zix, they've flipped it and said instead they're going to have the jungler enable the mid laner with Aurelia Sejuani.
Yeah, that is very true, and it does kind of fit the overall style of comp. When you have Aurelia, Sejuani, and Sion, these kind of, in-your-face laners, although, Aurelia's not tanky, obviously her main playstyle comes from jumping in, using that Blade Surge, and kind of being a presence in the front line. So with that comboed in with Sejuani and Sion means that there's a lot of frontline presence, which means that there's not too much focus onto the Vayne, especially if on red side they can't manage to get into that backline. Although Xin Zhao may have the audacious charge, no one else on their team besides maybe a hopeful Hook really has a way to get onto Vayne directly, and that can just mean that she has so much time to just peel back and get a ton of damage off in team fights.
Yeah, that damage is definitely time. I think time is actually the word I want to focus on here, because the composition, at least coming out of the red side, really does not want to wait for time. Alerion Gaming is not concerned with time. They just want to burst people down immediately. That's what the Blitzcrank, that's what the Misfortune do. Their fights last 5 seconds tops, right? It's about as long as the Urgot Fear Beyond Death can remain on somebody. Their fights should ever really last. While on the side of EcksDee, they want really long, drawn-out team fights. They want to use these ultimates one after another. They don't even really want to layer them on top of each other, right? It's not about wombo combos with them. It's about extending the fights and giving the Dutchman the time to lay down those silver bullets.
Yeah, that is very true. And I like that that's kind of the way you say that their comp is based around disruption. And that is something they've drafted pretty well. You have the tidal wave, you have the unstoppable charge, you have the glacial prison in the Sejuani, and there are just so many ways that this comp can be handled and these games can be played. So the real question is, can they pull that off? Because you do have to remember that something like a Blitzcrank pull or a Xin Zhao charge in with his ultimate just means that there are plenty of ways to disrupt blue side as well. But it seems like it's going to be a lot harder for red side to execute those fights when time comes around as opposed to blue side.
Yeah, that's for sure. On those words, we're going to kick it to a quick break while we wait for the players to load in and the spectator delay to pass by. But when we come back, we're going to bring you some quality action. Stick by. Well, welcome back, everybody. The players have loaded in and they're already running. As we can see, there is a 5-man going through the tri-bush on the bot side, and they're just going to wait with Scion's Decimating Smash, try and spot out an invade.
Yeah, it looks like right now, they know what they're looking for, and they know that the other team, especially having something like the Blitzcrank, is a lot more likely to try to push into them. And it seems like they're actually going the opposite side, so they're not even going to scout this out. It looks like Blitzcrank was just trying to do a pull so he can get some disruption, but at the very least, right now, it seems like nothing crazy is going to go on. We're not going to have any 4v5 shenanigans. Looks like everyone's just going to kind of stay back, keep themselves centered, and hopefully just return to lane to start up laning phase early.
Yeah, and it's a pretty simple reset here. It looks like the bot lane's going to actually show early from the side of Alerion, which means that Zen is actually going to be kind of, given away as he's doing his red buff, which is what he wants to do anyway, right? He wants to go red into Krugs. That's the Zen Zhao way.
Yeah, Xin Zhao kind of works out really well in the jungle right now, especially with this pathing. And the way that Xin Zhao usually wants to play is kind of, he wants to just farm up and use up that Halo Blades, especially with the 3 Talon Strike. As we all know, Halo Blades does make your first 3 auto attacks have really, really heavy increased attack speed. So having it with that 3 Talon Strike and just be able to instantly get that knockup is usually a very big gank tool. And with the fact that he has started red side, it's actually possible to see him maybe try to immediately go top lane after Krugs and see if he can get an early kill on the Scion.
Yeah, so he's actually gone and elected for this early level 3, which is actually just like an early level 2 as well. It's honestly an absolutely broken path on this one jungler and maybe another 2 or 3. But he's going to go right into the Scuttle Crab here, and it looks like Sejuani is actually mirroring his clear. She won't do it as quickly, but we're talking about like seconds here. It's pretty negligible when you're doing a side swap.
Yeah, it would appear that way. And then meanwhile, we can kind of see that, the lanes have kind of taken on the roles that we've expected them to. Top lane, it seems like Urgot is taking a little bit of a fighting advantage over the Scion, maybe just trying to throw out some abilities, get him caught in lane. As we see Xin Zhao walking to the top side.
Yeah, and he's looking up there. I mean, it's actually going to be better for him to go and pick up the Scuttle Crab, but that ward is actually going to spot him out. Those pixel wards are crucial, as you see both junglers get them, which means both junglers are going to get full vision. So far, each jungler has chosen the same path, been spotted out in the same way, and made the same decisions. It's really up to how their teams react to this from here. We're really going to get to see kind of like a skill matchup in the jungle, as far as that's ever possible.
Yeah, we will be able to, but the thing is the problem is that it definitely favors Murdoch, not necessarily even just because, slightly more prone to responding, in my opinion. I think that one jumpy boy, as much as he has the stun, if it does come between him and the Vladimir, that it's really is going to become a very, very big difference. And I think that with regards to I believe it's Mesh Nuggets or Mesh Nuggets, I can't really read that name, but when he comes through, is although he may have the Aurelia, if Vladimir uses his pool correctly and if they don't get a proper pick onto Murdoch, it's going to be much harder for him to make those fights happen.
Man, so it actually looks like in the bot lane there is one shove coming out on the side of EcksDee, which means they're going to have an advantageous lane, and that's the lane with Vayne in it. Definitely not what you want to see if you're an ALRG fan.
Yeah, it's definitely really good in that case that the Vayne is getting the push on. Seems like she's going very even in farm with the Misfortune, which is actually very good. Misfortune usually known for being a bit more oppressive, using that double up to get some damage down. And we'll have to definitely see if they can keep that up, because while they do have the double range as opposed to the range melee, you are against that Blitzcrank that is just known for doing so much damage. We got a bit of a skirmish in the mid lane, actually.
Yeah, and that's going to end up heavily in the favor of Aurelia. We almost kind of want to see that out of her at level 2 instantly. It's one of her stronger points. Decimating Smash is going to land onto the Urgot. That's going to be a lot of damage. Actually, it looks like Ali gets all in here, and that means he's going to get thrown around. Does flash out, but Xin Zhao, like we said, Halo Blade's going to get that knockdown way too quick. Lands a W slow after, and that means that's going to be first blood going over. Forced to flash out, though, as the stun does come from Sejuani. Had she got the proc, she probably would have ended up killing Xin Zhao, but unfortunately doesn't, and that means it's going to be a 1 for none.
Yeah, it was actually a really good flash by Murdoch, because he definitely could have made the mistake of thinking that he would have been fine, that he could have fought through the Scion passive, but if that Frost had landed, he definitely would have been at a disadvantage. Now, that being said, that is definitely a very, very crucial flash burn, especially on something like a Xin Zhao that kind of needs to walk up to people in order to get that charge distance down and to get that 3 Talon Strike. So that does probably mean that it seems like the bot lane will not be a point of contention for him. So just something like the Nami that provide constant speed boost with their passive, something like the Vayne with the tumble, it's likely that'll be a bit too hard of a lane to gank unless they really want to rely on that Blitzcrank pull.
Yeah, definitely not going to be the easiest of lanes to gank. But I feel like that there's always a chance. It just kind of depends on if there's an overstep or not, right? Although it doesn't look like there will be as the wave gets big.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does appear that at least right now, the bottom lane. After we originally said how we were praising the Vayne Cube farm, they're definitely well behind at the moment. The wave may be pushed in, but even so, she is at a 10 CS disadvantage as Blitzcrank tries to go in.
Well, that's just going to be a lot of damage going down on the Blitzcrank here as he actually misses the hook, and this is kind of the issue where you have a lot of power until you use your abilities. That means teleport gets channeled. Now remember, that means Cuban is coming. Instantly matched by Ali. Everybody's into this fight. There's a lot of damage coming down on the Dutchman here, but nothing is going to stick. As he sits with a slither, Ali has to flash forward if he wants more, and that means that Dynasty is just stuck between everybody. Kron is in the backline. He's going to get hit by the smash, but that's not going to be enough. Cyan is going to pick up that kill, though, has the ward and the vision. Going to try to beat down Cuban, only going to be enough to just force him to recall and go back to lane.
Yeah, it does end up actually being a 2-for-1 and is a very, very hectic fight. We have to look at that and just say that Flying Dutchman, I think, got a little bit over aggressive. When you have to remember to think about the Blitzcrank is that mana shield that he can provide and just be able to soak up that little tiny bit of extra damage that's just enough to make this game last longer. And then at the end of the day, it is a 2-for-1. It's also a Mountain Dragon pickup for the side of Alerion Gaming.
Yeah, that Mountain Dragon feels really strong, especially when you get it before you've taken any of the platings. It's going to help out insurmountably at getting those.
Yeah, the platings are obviously a very, very big point of this current new patch. A lot of people tend to kind of see, using teleport like that as kind of a strong point when you can make those fights happen. But the thing is that with the current way turret platings work, it's actually more of a boon because realistically speaking, if only one laner was teleport, let's say for example, only Urgot had made that teleport play. If Urgot had gotten at least 2 turret plates, then that actually wouldn't have even been as even of a fight because the Urgot would technically receive more gold, getting 320 off of plates as opposed to the 300 gold bounty for the kill. So the idea of turret planning actually means that it's not necessarily always the best decision to make those TP plays unless you can definitely match your opponent.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you have to think about it as getting 2 kills instead of the 1, which is kind of why you go bot lane, right? But if you're only getting the 1 and ends up not being as impactful, I think that you are right, though. It would have probably been better for Urgot in that case to have stayed topside.
Yeah, especially Urgot, being the ranged matchup, having kind of more the ability.
That's another missed hook, though, and it looks like he's going to take a lot of damage here. He gets knocked up into the wall. Here comes Aurelia, though. She's trying to land the stun, just misses, and that's another silver belt proccing. That's the entire passive. Ultimate comes out of Aurelia, but she's not feeling brave enough to dive. Doesn't even have to. It's not even Corrupting Pot that burns down. I don't know what that was.
No, so what happened was that I think that Daikron actually forgot that when you pass through the... Oh, hold on.
And it looks like we're going to have another engage here. Sejuani just catches out Misfortune on the backline, and that's what you get for trying to run away from your turret there. Yeah, you got to get out if you have the chance to, and if not, once everyone's gone, you're gone too. Not really Ardor's fault.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there, but to re-explain what's happening... Oh, hold on, wait, we got to fight in the top lane now.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be Cuban going down here as he gets ran into and Scion screams war. The Decimating Smash is going to slow, but apparently he's not going to be able to squish that worm today.
Yeah, a little bit of W damage off of the Purge. The little shield actually did save him there, in my opinion. That's about how much health he was missing. To reiterate in the bot lane, what happened to Daikron, he seems that he had forgotten that when Aurelia uses that Vanguard's Edge, he'd actually walked back through the blades that was set up from her perimeter. And as soon as he had done that, he actually took the extra damage you take when you pass through, and that was what had given away the kill. So that was actually setting up the first one, and then Artillery unfortunately trying to escape, but McShugget's actually making a very good play down the bottom lane and a very good roam timing and very good jungler presence.
See, I didn't actually see him walk back through that, but that's really unfortunate if he did. You definitely don't want to be giving over free kills in a competitive environment.
Yeah, that is true. Meanwhile, Cuban's taking a fight against Urgot.
Yeah, and it looks like this time Cuban's actually going to be the one coming out ahead here, and despite the Ignite, he's going to be able to get out here, but Xin Zhao does die on the backline there, as Aurelia Sejuani's too much. Now Dutchman's going to go down to the ultimate coming out of Misfortune. The Nami bubble is almost enough to stop it, but just isn't enough. Sorry, the wave.
Yeah, Daikron also unfortunately missed that hook, so Nami, Mr. Drops will not go down today, but that will likely be a lot of turret plate damage going down. You see that Demolish doing so much to that tower, and even so, a second one will likely go down now, maybe even a third, depending on how ambitious they feel at this tower and how fast the minions seem to come by, but very, very big plays across the map, and it seems like this whole game is going to be a lot of aggression from both sides.
Yeah, and I mean, Daikron actually, I think the story of this game has been missed hooks out of him, and it's really, really fortunate that Misfortune's still 3-1 on his side, honestly.
Yeah, well, the Misfortune's definitely getting a lot of help with these presents and with that TP play from earlier. So I think that's the main reason why she's able to even be as far ahead as she is.
Like
but now we see her engaged in the mid lane.
Trying to make a play onto Vladimir, only gets 2 procs on, though. That's not going to be enough as Murdoch goes in, does get the slow. And as I say that, though, we get another fight going on the top side. It's Urgot who goes on to Scion here, just going to land a little bit of poke, and everybody kind of resets here. It looks like Murdoch sets his eyes on some vision.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now, this is kind of where that top lane matchup gets a lot more in Urgot's favor. Once he, gets the phage, has that little bit of tankiness to deal with Scion's high base damages, and this is where the fight really goes in his favor. He can kind of clear up the CS, and, even that trade with that Purge shield and with the ability to, to use his passive, it's just that he can do so much in this fight, and if Scion's not careful, that Fear Beyond Death will be up in about another 10 seconds.
Wow, it looks like the Fear Beyond Death actually might be the thing that seals the deal here. As he goes below half health, just going to need a little bit more poke before that comes back up if he wants to be able to get it on Cuban's side. It does look like Daikon, though, going to go for the flash in, gets the E. You can't miss the hook when you already knocked them up. Finally lands one of those, and this might be Dutchman going down, forced to heal, but that's still not enough. Even with the Nami drops, does land the bubble.
Lands
there, but not going to be able to deal enough damage. Or make Shruggets?
McShuggets, I believe, and that's going to be another kill. But now, hold on, wait a minute, we got another fight going on.
Cuban's up here on the top side, though, but don't forget the ultimate death this time for both of them. That means you can't just go for the Fear Beyond Death because Scion will run away calling you a coward as he escapes a minute death.
Yeah, it seems like that is the case, as he knows that right now he can't necessarily use that ultimate for nothing. He does have the exhaust right now, actually, on the unsealed spellbook, perhaps looking to use it, but right now it's going to be another dragon.
There's a nice pick by Daikon. That's going to pull out Drops. Drops gets healed up there. The Misfortune ultimate comes down. That's going to land some good damage. Dragon does go over to the red side. Sejuani ultimate's going to land onto Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao's going to back all the way up. Looks like he's still somehow staying alive, but Sejuani's actually going to be the one to knock him down. Vladimir flashes in to make sure that he secures the kill. He's getting soloed out by Vayne, and it looks like that it's Scion trying to take out Daikon on the back end, and Vladimir now is alone between two members. He knows he can't kill both of them, but it looks like he's still going to try here, as he can just tell the jig is up. Finally going to give up as he runs away. That first comes back up. Crimson Rush might give him enough, but it looks like the Decimating Smash is going to come down. Imagine they're going to give this kill right over to Vayne. But, it's a Zhonya's. And there it goes, finally. Made them work for it, and it doesn't look like they're getting anything off of that team fight because of the work, except for Incuban in the top.
Yeah, it seems like he just missed out the timing on the Q to try to get a little bit extra healing, but that is going to be a lot of damage actually on that top turret. Looks like Cuban will actually get it down to 4 turret plates of his own gold, which, like I said before, is definitely a big deal currently. That's about 640 gold in his pocket, and as much as that might have been a good TP play, they didn't end up securing the Drake, and they end up having about an even exchange at the end of the day, so you have to look at that and just make sure that they're not losing too much more than they're gaining.
Yeah, not losing more than you're gaining is definitely the motto of League of Legends, right? And it actually looks like the side that's down kills is up Drakes and up gold. That's the power of CS. And we're going to look at Misfortune if we're talking about the power of CS.
Yeah, right now, currently 30 CS up, and right now in terms of gold is about 1,500 up on his lane opponent, which is really, really big right now, especially when you know that Vayne is the kind of champion that needs about a good item or two under her belt to really be effective. So the fact that Misfortune is able to do so much against it is really good. And then as we look back over to this top side, again, it's going to be just Cuban fighting up with Ali Dynasty, and you can see just how much he can do in these fights, even without the Fear Beyond Death and necessarily the kill potential. Ooh, hold on.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to get Murdoch going in here, but it's McShuggets who comes all the way back in to fight them, and Urgot's now in the front. The challenge means nothing when you're challenging everybody. It's just a little bit of extra damage. But the Fear is going to land. Murdoch can get out, but he doesn't have to because he's going to heal up with that passive. Scion is still going to beat him down on the backside, and while all that's happening, Aurelia kills Misfortune down in the bottom lane.
Yes, it looks like it's actually an even 2-for-2 across the map, but a 2-for-1 on the top side for Alerion Gaming. And right now, when we look at this is actually really big, because not only that, but actually with Urgot having to push in these minions, he'll be able to secure that first tower.
There's a really nice hook by Daikon. Gonna pull off a little bit lower than half health now on Vayne.
Yeah, an excellent hook, and that actually causes a lot of pressure. It means that Vayne can't really stay right now with this tower, and it just means that as they try to siege, they're gonna lose first turret to top side, which is a lot of local gold in Cuban's pockets right now.
Yeah, it's more than a lot. It's putting him into the point where you almost can't deal with him anymore, right?
Yeah, well, I think he's not quite at that point yet. He hasn't finished his Righteous Glory. He does have the Black Cleaver, which is unfortunate, but with the Scion having that Thornmail, it does mean that his trades aren't necessarily completely one-sided. You know, with the healing reduction and with the little bit of poke damage you get on every time you're autoed, especially considering that Purge actually does count all those minor shots as different auto attacks, it does mean that he takes a lot of return damage, but definitely that can be offset by the Purge shield.
Yeah, and it looks like that it's McShuggets who's coming in here into the bot lane. Teleport does come out. Makes you think that they're going to be trying to get the poke on, or pick onto him. He doesn't really have anywhere to go. Forced to flash out. Wow, that's another ultimate landing onto the Zinzao. Feels like he's a magnet for those today, but it doesn't feel like that they're ever going to be able to pull anything off once those hit.
Yeah, having the ultimate actually land on Xin Zhao was actually really important because if he had managed to get in there and use the Hail of Blades to get the 3 Talon Strike, it might have definitely caused McShuggets to go down. But with landing the proper Glacial Prison, he was able to get out and he was able to live and kind of not give up anything too much for that exchange in the bot lane, besides maybe pulling out the TP out of Strawberry Cube.
And it looks like that they're going to be trying to get some poke down here under the mid turret as Blitzcrank throws out another wide missing hook. Begin to look like a Matt Parkey kick now.
Yeah, it looks like that's definitely going to be the case. And as we look at the map, both of these teams kind of are arranging like they want a team fight, but you can see that McShuggets has actually backed off, went back to his jungle. He knows that it's not advantageous for them to fight right now, even though they may be ahead in the kill lead with 2 towers down and the amount of local gold that went by early due to turret playing. They know they're definitely not in a position to really do anything more than just farm out.
Man, it looks like they are going to pick up this Rift Herald here now. Not the best time to pick it up, but there's really not a bad time to pick it up, right?
Yeah, Rift Herald is definitely a really nice neutral objective to have on the map. It's just good to get that down. And it usually helps transition into about another tower pickup, which right now is definitely not bad for them if they want to push for an inner in one of the side lanes, or if they want to just extend that mid lane, as it seems like Ali Dynasty in the bottom is going to secure the first outer turret meanwhile, and go ahead and pick that up for his team, try to get a little bit more map presence down.
See, I think that they might be a little bit confused on the side of Alerion and thinking that they're actually behind right now when they are pretty far ahead. And that's kind of why they're shooting over this map pressure and even giving up this Cloud Drake for free right now, it feels like.
Yeah, well, it is kind of unfortunate because it really feels like Alerion actually would do really well with the Cloud Drake. As Sion pops the ultimate. Looks like it was a little bit of a misuse because it seems like he's just over there in bot, so I think he's just backing off. But anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. It seems like they will go for this mid lane and kind of leave the map wide open. It's more a matter of where they want to use his Rift Herald, because they can try to use in this mid lane, but they can already tell it's not the best use as they try to back off.
Yeah, this is beginning to look like we might actually start seeing the power of Vladimir in this game. And I know that's odd to say that come only 17 and a half minutes in, but I just got a feeling that it's going to take a while for these teams to actually come through and crack the race. As we get the full-on fight here, it looks like the Tidal Wave is going to be the first thing to leave the engage. The Redemption's going to slow everybody. That's some big damage. Misfortune's dead on the back line. That's going to... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. She actually picks up Aurelia. Really nice job by her. And it looks like the slows are going to come down. Everyone from Elrond's alive. They knock up the Scion. That means Decimating Smash is going to be back up soon. Dutchman gets soloed out by the Zinzao, but Murdoch's only going to get the knock up. That's not going to be enough to kill. Misfortune's looking to land the slow and get the kill on Devane, but she can't get in range to deal damage. Urgot's trying to slow people and deal damage on the exit, but it looks like Artoer is going to be the one getting focused and picked up now. Now Urgot is still trying to get the slows down as they're all trying to disengage this fight. Nobody wants smoke except for EcksDee, and they want it as hard as they can get it, but there's no ultimates to grab them.
Yeah, nice 2-for-1 for the side of Alerion Gaming off a very, very kind of, important fight, because not only did the Nami Tidal Wave actually originally disrupt him and kind of cause a little bit of hassle, but it seems like actually right now they might try to go for this top lane out of turret, but it looks like Dynasty's a bit too far forward.
Turn here. That's Alerion getting it, and I think he can go unstoppable, but that's not going to make a difference. Oh, it would have had he not casted that early. Wow, really unfortunate for Ali Dynasty, who's actually going to go down due to his own misplay.
Yeah, he might have just accidentally not realized. He might have thought maybe he hit something, or he might have thought maybe he was just going to be fine after moving. But either way, he does stop that early, and that does end up going to another kill. And right now, Alerion is definitely showing that they have a lot of the tempo advantage. They were able to use that Rift Herald in the top lane, get a bit of damage on the outer tower, and then even though the Nami Tidal Wave had actually caused a big issue, they did manage to turn that fight around and ended up at a 2-for-1, which means that right now on the map, they should really make sure they start getting some extra vision down, maybe a bit more in that river and a bit more in the enemy jungle, because they will have to start pushing for these inner turrets sooner or later.
Yeah, speaking of those inner turrets, I feel like it's going to be hard to crack them once that Herald goes away. Right, I feel like they have a decent 1-3-1, but outside of that, especially without teleport on the side of Elrond, it's really a question of, can EcksDee ever get to the inner turrets? And I think the answer to that question is not for a while. So then we have to ask if Elrond can actually get them themselves, right? And right now, I just don't think that they have the capabilities to 1-3-1 this.
Well, as much as Alerion may not have the ability to 1-3-1, the thing is that when you look at the side of EcksDee, they don't have a lot of wave clear per se. Aurelia may have the blade search, be able to clear minions very fast, but in terms of like ranged wave clear, if they get this Baron, which they've just started up, that's really big because it seems like EcksDee doesn't really have the means to wave clear per se, and they can siege very well, especially with this.
They get spotted out here by that redemption, and they're immediately going to back off here. Chiron's going to be able to pick out Vayne again. She seems to always be the one getting grabbed by those now. Aurelia's going to actually pick up Misfortune this time. It is a little bit of reverse phase. Misses her ultimate. That's Zinzao going down in the back. Blitzcrank and Misfortune dead. And now it's the side of EcksDee turning their sights onto a Baron.
Oh, an unfortunate hold on, Aurelia might get picked up in the process.
Oh yeah, this is going to be an extended fight as Elrond's actually in a really bad spot here. Aurelia's got full damage going down to Vladimir. He's forced to pull out. That's a long cooldown. He's not going to be going anywhere. That stun's going to get the shutdown onto Urgot. He flashes late.
Oh my god, a turnaround. Turnaround 4 for nothing for the side of EcksDee off that Baron attempt by Alerion Gaming. Was very well played, but they didn't have quite enough vision down. They didn't have enough deep vision. They may have seen immediately where they were going, but as soon as they were spotted out, they had to back off and they had to run out. And as soon as one jumpy boy managed to get onto that back line and stop Artillery, and then with the follow-up Glacial Prison out of Meshuggah, it was just an easy pickup fight and a very, very well executed play from EcksDee.
Yeah, definitely a well-executed play there by EcksDee, and I think this is kind of what I was trying to mention when I'm saying they have to go for a 1-3-1, is that if they take that full-on 5v5 fight, I genuinely think that they never win the front-to-back. Like, the side of EcksDee is just actually designed for a front-to-back 5v5 team fight, and the only way that the side of Elrond wins is if Misfortune gets off an ultimate, which is otherworldly, or if Vladimir is allowed to get off, like, rotation after rotation, but that's going to require a 30-second long team fight, and I honestly don't think they can survive for that long.
Yeah, the Vladimir will definitely scale up and will be a lot more of a threat as maybe he gets another damage item or two, but at least right now he's not full frontal. He's not able to absorb all of this damage, and at least right now, as much as he'll be able to do enough to be a threat, he definitely can't sustain long enough in these fights, especially when you have something like a Vayne, like Meshuggah, like Ali Dynasty. There's just such heavy frontline threats.
Yeah, where the Vladimir is at least going to be able to excel is if there's a long fight. It looks like he's frontlining right now. They're not going to be able to live long if you frontline, and that's why he's forced to zone you. See, Aurelia ultimate goes down. Fear Beyond Death is going to be able to land on the Scion. That's a big target pulled out. If you're Elrond, you're feeling good as EcksDee is just running into the minting right now, but it looks like Drops is actually going to be the one who picks up Vladimir. The double stun by Aurelia is pretty big, but Blitzcrank picks her up. Now it's Meshuggah, who's just sitting there trying to make something happen in the mid. It looks like we had a 2-for-2.
Yeah, it looks like it's a 2-for-2, but it's gonna be another tower right now going for the side of EcksDee, and it's actually really big if they manage. Oh, hold on, we gotta pull.
Yeah, and that's just gonna be a quick little skirmish there. It looks like they're just parlaying though. Is Cuban does walk away really low, blinking health bar at that.
Yeah, Cubans really has to walk away a little bit strained with that exchange. As right now, even though he is 6-2 and 4, he doesn't have a lot of necessarily sustainability right now. Especially right now when the damage is going to come in at a bit of Sejuani with that frost action, that max HP damage that comes out of it. Even though he might have the armor to deal with the Vayne, it's still just really hard to get through this front line. And the max percentage health damage that Vayne can provide with the silver tipped bolts is definitely always something that Urgot's going to have to watch out for.
So I'm sorry when I said that it was going to be a long time before EcksDee was not knocking on inner turrets, because they just did it in not even 9 minutes after I said it. But it looks like they actually might be getting another pick here. Now they're just going to let that one go. There is vision everywhere. Can we talk about this vision for a second? Because the top side of the map's lonely.
Yeah, since right now they have a lot of vision on this bottom side, probably looking just more towards this dragon, as not to mention that the dragon is an ocean, which is actually very big for both of these comps, because both of these comps don't necessarily do too well against siege.
Oh, beautiful sidestep there by Murdoch, and that's probably going to be the subsentence, or the death sentence for one Jumpy, who's already ignited here, not going to get the heal back, and they just knock him down.
Yeah, they might knock him down, but they're going to lose actually most likely this top inner turret for it, because they know they saw 3 members down there. There's no way they can protect this. So even though it is one kill going over, it is another tower breaking over more of the map. So you have to think that's a bit more worth it for EcksDee right now.
Yeah, it's always worth it to have been picking up the tower, and Scion screaming, is this what passes for war as he runs away? And I guess he's going to have to ask himself that question later tonight.
It seems like that'll be the case, but either way, he does make it out. They don't lose any more members for it, so it is a 1 for O, but it is also 1 tower for none at the same time. So you have to give the benefit to EcksDee as their Baron buff just starts to run out.
Yeah, and I mean, the Baron definitely ended up being rather impactful. More so for the fight before it than for the actual Baron, I think is the way to put that. But they do crack some of the inners, and that's going to get them into a position where they're clearly in the lead again.
Yeah, right now, definitely more.
Wait, that ultimate just barely misses. That flash actually looked like it came as the ultimate was connecting. That Nami tidal wave is so beautiful.
Yeah, that Nami type of hold on, Murdoch.
Oh, there we go. Murdoch's all the way, and he knocks Sejuani out. Sejuani jumps back in to pick him up. He's forced to use his stopwatch if he wants to stay alive, but the redemption's going to come in. Miss Fortune's glitching out as she steps forward, trying to shove out her ultimate, but the double bubble is going to be a big problem as there's another zone who's forced to be used out of the Vladimir. He's not even going to get his Crimson Rush in time as he's forced to pull, and that's going to be a flash kill coming out for Aurelia. That's a double kill, and now it's Kron running away, and he's going to be, actually, he's going to be pretty safe as he uses W to get that movement speed.
Yeah, Dicron, the only one surviving as well as Strawberry Cuban, who just came back up. And it looks like right now this is actually going to be the mid lane inhibitor going down to EcksDee. This is a super, super big comeback right now. 4K gold in the lead, probably soon to be about 4.5 with the taking of this inhibitor. And this is going to be very, very bad for Alerion Gaming because now they have to really focus on this mid lane and make sure that the super minions don't become too much of a hassle, especially so they don't have too much heavy magic damage unless they want to give up the Vladimir.
So I think if you're on the side of Alerion Gaming here, what you have to do is just let Vladimir get all of the CS he can possibly pick up anywhere at every time, all the time.
Yeah, Vladimir's really going to be. Yeah, Vladimir's really going to be their win condition right at this moment. Not only is he the only real magic damage threat on his team, but he is kind of the main person that's going to be probably circumvented to try to handle these super minions having, you know, the magic damage, negative magic resist. So right now his job is pretty clear of hanging out in that mid lane trying to stop the supers from doing too much damage. But otherwise, the rest of the team's really going to have to make sure that they can try to maneuver around in these fights because we're seeing the big issue that was talked about in Champs like that there's just such a beefy front line on the side of EcksDee Gaming that Vane's able to do so much free damage for a while.
Yeah, and speaking of that beefy front line, Scion's between 4 of them, and it doesn't even matter, as they actually have to run away from him.
Yeah, Scion's able to just tank up so much damage right now. Having that Warmogs and having that Sulfur in his passive just means that he has so much bonus health. He's gotten about another 800 bonus health on his W alone, let alone the Warmogs itself, which is 800 by itself.
Oh, Blitz, please pull this Sedge out. She deserves it. Why did you recall? Oh, if Dicron was there, he could have pulled her and they could have made the engagement. Looks like that's going to be the Sejuani ultimate landing onto the perfect member. As Murdoch is going to go down, the challenge can't save him from one jump. Who now has everybody routed and they can't auto-attack. And this is the perfect fight for EcksDee. They don't need the Baron anymore as they have a slaughter on their hands. They're just going to run up the mid and with it take the first game.
Yep, and that is most likely going to be the game for them. It looks like right now they're just going to go back there. I think that Scion actually back just to teleport and get right into that tower and get immediate damage on it. And you have to look at this and say that the Vayne came back, the team stayed strong after that early deficit, and this will most likely be first game for EcksDee Gaming.
Yeah, I think this is all she wrote. There's not even another fight that's going to be able to be called here, as it's just Vladimir trying to pretend he actually has a chance to end something. He's just padding his stats, let's be honest here. That's first game over to EcksDee.
Yeah, when you look at EcksDee, you have to say that I think they definitely won this in the draft phase. Having that Scion, having that Sejuani, and then using that in combination with the Vayne and using it just to have such a beefy frontline to let her do damage, even though she fell really, really far behind in the early game, once she was able to get that Bork and Rage Blade, she was able to just use her Silver Bolts, get the damage down onto the front line, and make sure that they could stall long enough to just make these extended fights hell for them.
Yeah, and I mean, we can look at the stat breakdown, but it really seems like that one jumpy boy is definitely one jumpy boy for sure. I'm not sure why they exactly give him Aurelia with a name like that, and he showed us why you'd never want to. Topping the charts in kills, damage, and almost every other statistical category you can think of.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I mean, personally, for me, the big catalyst for this team was actually McShuggets being able to use that Glacial Prison effectively. He had only died once pre-game, especially with all those previous Xin Zhao games where Murdoch was originally kind of controlling the map, showing a lot of presence, using that 3-talent strike, and just kind of trying to be as heavy as possible. But at least right now, this game is looking really good, and I really, really want to see some draft adaptations out of the side of Alerion Gaming to see if they can get a better pick or two.
Yeah, we definitely saw something of a masterclass coming out of Sejuani on how to play the matchup against Linzhou. Even mirroring is clear, and keeping up pace pretty well. Felt good for her.
Yeah, that is the case. But I guess we'll just have to see what happens in game two. As right now, we're going to go to a short break. We're going to make sure that we keep you all up to date as we get into this series for Prophecy Cup. Take care.
Flowers that bloom in the darkness. It's a sighting that is rare to come across. Nobody seems to have noticed that the power that could be bestowed is lost, riding through the twilight. This armory protects my heart.
will wait for you to be better.
You reek of fear.
I won't be denied. You would last the day in the void.
You don't have the heart for this.
It's just business.
They fear me.
Well, hello everybody and welcome back. We're going to get this draft live in a second as we have the second game between EcksDee and Alerion Gaming. So tell me what's up, wise man.
Well, I do have to say, after looking at that first game, you have to say that there was a lot going on for XD as terms of their for XD in terms of their comp, and they really were able to execute it rather well. They had the beefy front line, they had the Scion, they had the Aurelia just kind of jumping over there in the Sejuani, and it really was able to enable the Vayne to do her damage, even though she had a rough early laning phase. So I'm excited to see how they can turn this draft around and really make a big change.
Yeah, and I mean, it looks like we're just waiting to get the draft phase started here as first ban coming in is going to be Sejuani. Definitely a big pick out of the last game.
Yeah, the first ban Sejuani is definitely good to see. We will have to. Oh wait, by the way, we will have to point out. It seems like the
Team
display.
swap, right?
Teams are swapped. In this game, we have Alerion Gaming on blue side and EcksDee on red side. So we will have a little bit of a change there. We'll work that out in a little bit. As we kind of get that settled, though, the Sejuani ban is definitely a very good start to have. The Sejuani was a very big playmaker last game, using that Glacial Prison and shutting down the Xin Zhao on the side of Alerion Gaming. So it's good to see that banned out. And the Camille as well, a follow-up ban continued from last phase, I believe. Most likely just there just to be sure that they don't lose too much and maybe just to keep a good jungle pick out of the hands of Murdoch.
Let's be honest, Camille's a scary pick. I actually coach a high school team, and we had a Diamond ADC and a team of silver players who got absolutely dominated game after game by jungle. It had me in hysterics. Like, you would think a Diamond 2 player could learn how to deal with this after his third time into it, and still that level 2 gank just comes in and succeeds every time.
Well, Camille's definitely very strong for that hook shot, and just the amount of range that you have on the ability, it usually means that it's very easy to kind of forget where she can go, and especially considering that during its animation you can flash into it. If you can't quite close distance the ability on itself, you can always use that kind of in some way of a Shen taunt. And as soon as you get there, you have so much single target damage with that Hextech protocol, especially if you have the ultimate available. And then the multiple different auto resets on the Q just means you can usually get a ton off on her, and it usually means it's a strong pick. But we're gonna try to kind of go through this draft a little bit faster, considering that we're a bit behind in terms of spectator delay. The Urgot and the Aurelia being picked up again by XD is very, very strong. Meanwhile, everyone trying to change around their picks, going for the Anivia as well as the Gragas.
Yeah, so as we see the first rotations are finished here, Gragas, Anivia, and Nami is a really strong 3, but it's got a clearly large hole in the lack of AD, and it looks like Kai'Sa actually isn't going to be the best idea for them here. Sever comes over next, that's going to be pretty useful, and Ezreal's picked up. I think that's actually a pretty strong 3 to go with, but it does leave up Lucian. Oh no, Lucian got banned, my bad. So they're going to go Jinx.
Yeah, Lucian was banned by Alerion Gaming, and with the Jinx pickup as well as the Poppy and then the Elise pickup from XD, there's actually a very, very clear indication from my side that Alerion are going to actually sacrifice their early game. They're kind of taking a reverse role from last time where they had the Xin Zhao, they had the Urgot, they had the they had the bottom lane that kind of had more presence in the Misfortune, and they were trying to get more early presence. This time around, they're saying we want to be the ones to scale up. The Poppy is going to be really good with that dash protecting against something like the Aurelia, like the Urgot, even like the Elise technically on that Spider Bite. And the Anivia obviously is going to be really, really bad early laning phase, especially against something like either the Aurelia or the Urgot, depending on where they decide to go. But later game, as she scales up, she has that mana pool to hold up that ultimate. She will really be a big, big team fight tool.
Yeah, I don't actually think that XD is going to be having the biggest problem here. I think they have a lot of poke on the front with the Urgot and Ezreal combo. I think that the Aurelia and Elise are capable of picking off anyone who's low. And I think Thresh is kind of the glue that facilitates everything. Elrond's going to have a really hard time here. The only saving grace I think that they really picked up is Nami.
Yeah, I think that the Nami is still a very strong pick, and they do still have that to their advantage. But like I said, it's just going to depend on how kind of early these fights start to break out, and how early these teams start to really get on the map as we do load into the game.
Yeah, so as we're loaded in, you can see on your screen right now, it looks like it's going to be a pretty classic setup by both teams. We can't really expect anything fancy coming out of them, so they don't really want to give up a free win in this next one.
Yeah, they definitely don't want to give up a free win. They don't want to lose anything to some invades. They're just going to 5-point, make sure they can see everything on the map, and make sure they're not going to lose any potential advantage, perhaps through some deep vision, perhaps through some early fights. So they're just going to try to wait for laning phase startup and make sure that they can use their comps the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, and I think an apologies for another screen issue where XD was actually the winners of our last series and not Alerion Gaming. As much as they wish they had won, they actually didn't end up doing that, unfortunately.
Yeah, with that, yeah, XC did pick up the win in the last game, which means this is their series to win. And right now, with their comp holding a bit more aggression this time
Ooh,
around,
crab god.
it is going to be interesting to see if they can manage to hold it together. Because right now, with the way that these comps both look, there's a very clear indication that they want to win through certain ways. XD, they want to win through some early pressure, and then once they get to that mid game, when Urgot has the Fear Beyond Death, Aurelia has the Vanguard's Edge, and once Ezreal kind of gets one of those tiers stacked, that's when they really want to fight. Whereas on the other side, for Alerion, they just want to scale up. They want to let Nivea get a good mana pool. Poppy wants to build a few tank items, and Jinx wants to scale up to that massive point of attack speed when she can use those rockets effectively.
Yeah, and it looks like Poppy's actually going to be dealing some pretty good damage here onto Ally Dynasty. They actually don't give one jumpy boy the Aurelia, which feels odd given that it's literally his namesake.
Well, they do not. Well, they don't give him that, but it's likely that at least right now they want to try to maneuver around the map. Maybe they're worried about how Poppy can interact with the Urgot. Perhaps maybe they think that it's not going to be a good matchup. But either way, it is definitely also a good matchup into the Anivia. That is, as long as it doesn't take too much poke damage on those Frostbites or Frostfangs, I believe.
Yeah, but Aurelia is always going to have a harder time into Poppy than Urgot. Just look at how many times she dashes.
Yeah,
See,
it's definitely.
she can't even get the proc there because of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a strong point of contention for that in the matchup, and perhaps maybe that is a bit of a misplay, but it seems like more than anything they just wanted something to kind of keep the Poppy on her toes. The Urgot, can kind of deal some poke damage, but maybe they just thought of it as Aurelia will have a bit more kill potential. She can kind of bully out the Poppy, which so far isn't working quite to the full effect that they probably expected it to, but they are shoving her in the turret.
Oof, it looks like we are going to get the stun here, and if the Poppy W does come up, means that Aurelia's going to have to back up. Gragas lands the slam, but not the body. And it looks like they're just going to be getting a little bit of extra damage onto the Thresh here. As the Ignite does come out onto Murdoch, he goes a little bit low, but not low enough. Remember, that had been nerfed here. Elise is going to pick up that kill on the backside, though. That's first blood going over to her. The Cocoon just misses. The heal out of Jinx comes in just in time. The mana's low. As we get another look here on the top side, the stun does come in. That should be a dead Poppy, and the kill does go over to Ally Dynasty. As Elise is 100% going to be picking up this kill onto Diacron here. And that's the auto attacks and the power of a red buff with Elise here. Mick Shugget's just repeating his performance from last game.
Yeah, really, really good counter gank by Mitch Shuggets. He realized that Murdoch was down, then realized that Artillery and Daikon used up so much of their resources trying to get Flying Dutchman and drops that they just ended up not quite getting the kill, and it meant that Elise had a perfect pick onto Murdoch, not seeing her in the river due to no wards being down there, and then a follow-up kill going on to Daikon just due to how low he got in trying to tank up tower.
Yeah, that 3-0 start's going to feel really bad. It's already up 1.7k gold coming over the 4-minute horizon. And Elise still has an entire jungle to clear.
Yeah, Elise still has an entire jungle to clear. She has 2 kills on her belt and already having a 450k gold bounty, which is very big to have at the start of the game. And it's also not to mention, like I said, she has plenty of time to clear. She's very much full health. She didn't have to take a lot of damage in that exchange. It just means that right now it's going to be a very nice stun, but it means that Elise will have a very, very good start. And at the same time, like I said, as much as Eleron's comp did want to scale more, they're definitely not going to get there anytime soon if they keep having starts like this at 0-3.
Yeah, I'd agree that they're not going to be getting there anytime soon with starts like this, especially into a composition like this. Is Aurelia just going to show off some moves there?
Yeah, Aurelia is still able to do a lot of damage in this matchup. Still able to get off the double blade surge, knowing that Poppy didn't have the steadfast presence up in these fights. And it's actually really big that she's able to get off this damage because, like you were saying before, it's definitely not a good matchup on paper when Poppy has that steadfast presence for the Aurelia jumps. But on the contrary, if Aurelia gets the stun off and she can just double Q Poppy before she even gets out of the stun, it just means that she can get both procs and do a fair bit of damage.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more than a fair. I mean, it's a life-ending amount. Let's be honest about what type of damage comes down out of these champions. Speaking of a life-ending amount, here comes Gragas, and he's going to get flashed. Feels good. That's a 7-second ability for a 5-minute one.
Yeah. Now he does at least have the unsealed spellbook, so it won't come up quite as soon, but he had the cleanse, he had the flash, he wasn't afraid to use it, and it was actually very effective in that instance that he was able to not only survive the gank, but considering that he can see that Anivia doesn't have a lot of mana and she hasn't backed yet for that tier, he knows that he can stay here and push this wave, knowing that he has presence. So One Jumpy Boy avoiding death and being able to kind of reap a little bit of a benefit in the process.
Man, it looks like on the top side, we're just going to be seeing a farm fest coming out here as Ally Dynasty has total control over this lane now. Into a tank. It's really hard to come back from losing that first kill.
Yeah, it's definitely a big issue there. Poppy does have the Bomby Cinder, so it's possible that maybe Aurora doesn't want to take too heavy trading of fights, but we need to see if Strawberry Cuban can hurry up and hit that level 6. If he does, he might be able to last at least long enough in a 1v1 to not necessarily go down. But right now, Ali Dynasty
nice stun.
really putting down a lot of damage.
Steadfast Presence does come out. That's going to negate anything that Ali Dynasty wants to do to clap back. And that W's missed time for sure. Only gets some gold off of it with the CS.
Well, I think that's all I was looking for.
Yeah, he's just looking to back off.
Yeah, I don't think he was really looking to continue that engage. Poppy did just hit level 6, has the Keeper's Verdict, and if she does decide to use that, especially if she ends up getting the Flash ultimate down, that will 110% be
Here comes the Gragas, though, right as you're speaking. He's trying to get onto this Drake, and it looks like there's a miss smite by Elise, but it doesn't matter because Gragas' smite was never up. Makes you wonder why he's body slamming in there in the first place.
Yeah, it's possible he might have just thought he could get in there and grab it in time. I actually think that was his, I believe that was his smite that was used in the pit, and I think he just smited a bit too early. But that it will be a pickup kill for the side of EcksDee in the hands of One Jumpy Boy, which is really big, especially in this matchup, because since Anivia will start building up that mana, she's going to start being really oppressive when she uses that ultimate, just like how she's doing right now.
Yeah, the mana regen's really big on the mid laners here. I think that they both really would have liked it, specifically on the side of Ezreal if you're looking for EcksDee. That's going to let him stack that tier.
Yeah, definitely. It really is good right now that he's able to stack that tier up and knows, he doesn't really have a crazy amount of, lane opposition, because being against something like the Jinx, again, she's not really known until she builds up an item or two. So right now, Ezreal doesn't really feel that worried in this lane, even though he doesn't have any real starting damage items. He's only going a tier against double longsword, and being already 15 CS up also means that with this jungler presence in Shuckish really providing a lot of help, there's really not a lot more to be said, and this bottom lane's in a good spot.
Oh, okay, so it's not just me. But yeah, it does look like that here in the mid we're going to be seeing some engage coming out of Anivia, who's actually pretty low on health. Nothing going to come out of it. Here comes Gragas again with another missed body slam. Going to throw out that. Knows that the Elise has nowhere else to go, but does choose the minion.
Yeah, it seems like by queuing that minion, he actually gets a lot down. Oh, now on the top side, we have a little bit of engage going on, looks like.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to come out of this. This wave's too big for Ali to keep on extending, and Poppy doesn't really have anything to force the commitment, except for greed.
Yeah, Poppy's really just right now. I mean, right now you have to give credit to Strawberry Cuban with what he's doing. He is managing to not take up too much damage in these fights, and he knows at least.
Oh, there's a full engage. That's a stun. I might have spoke too soon. Instead, Press Pheasants does come out. The ultimate connects too, but that's going to be too early of an ultimate. I'm sorry. The flash comes out, and Cuban's going to do everything to secure that kill against Ali, and that's going to mitigate a lot of the pressure in that lane.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pressure relieved on the side of Strawberry Cuban. He may still be down a bit in CS, but he knows that he might get dived on. He's actually trying to run away right now from the Elise.
Yeah, this is straight dove on his, it just looks like Shuggets doesn't really have an option to lose this fight. Ooh. And wow, feels bad if you're Urgot. He was just trying to get a little bit of the action. Does get the assist. As here comes the body slam. That one will connect with the flash. Ooh, really nice cast there. He's going to be able to catch him. Urgot has no just for the distance. No, he already used his ultimate, right?
Yeah, I'm saying he has no ultimate right now, so
okay.
Murdoch actually knows that he's not in kill pressure.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Had he not done that just for, the assist, which is what, 200 gold? 150 gold? Oh, yeah, really nice drop there.
Hold on, Dicron might go down.
Is going to be able to... Why do they throw the hook in between them? This isn't football, kids.
Well, he may have thought that Dicron was going to end up walking back towards Artillery, and it's just, unfortunately, he misjudged the prediction, so that will be a down hook, and it looks like they're actually going to get away from that. Even through a really nice flay, it looks like nothing will really come out of it as Logbag gets this blue buff from mid lane, which is really, really big in the hands of an Anivia that really wants that heavy wave clear to get something like the Urgot.
Yeah, the Anivia finally being able to get down some clear, although it looks like her mana is going to stay consistently low, so Urgot's going to be able to shove in here. As looks like there's another fight going on the top side. Ali really isn't sitting well that he got beat up that last fight.
Yeah, Ali's been taking a lot of damage in these fights, and he's definitely going to keep doing so at this rate. But at least in one hand, he's able to keep up his farm, and he's able to kind of constantly shove Poppy on her tower, meaning that even though he might take these more or less negative trades, he's not necessarily losing out from it. Poppy's not able to exactly exert a bunch of lane pressure, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from there, but Poppy's lane pressure more or less comes from the fact that she's not really going to get killed at this point, and she always has that teleport available.
Yeah, she does have that teleport, but hold on, looks like Aurelia wants to go back in for another fight.
Yeah, the stun's going to hurt, and there's going to be another proc, but she walks through that. You're only going to get one more Q to her, and it doesn't even look like Ali's going to take that, as he knows Stev's presence up.
Well, I'll say it's actually not even that Ali didn't really want to take it. It's actually that he used the double Q onto Strawberry Cuban before after he got the original stun proc off on the Equilibrium strike. So it wasn't even available for use. So he actually just kind of had to walk towards him and hope that maybe he tried to walk back towards him for a re-engage. Ooh, hold on, we got a
really
flash.
nice engage there by Drop, and it looks like Dicron's going to be the one to try to disengage it as Ezreal's getting some free poke down, but that's not going to help the fact that the Elise is already dead. Here comes out a Rocket, that goes in between again. It looks like we're always playing the goalpost game as the heal does come out. That's going to keep Drops alive, but not long enough to even get out another ability as Cuban's going to pick up that one, and now it's Ezreal left alive to defend the bot turret.
Yeah, it's a beautiful teleport on the side of Strawberry Cuban, knowing that he would actually be behind the Thresh and using so to get a ton of damage off and enough to pick up that kill, which is really big. But in the top side, we have to look at Ali Dynasty. He's able to get a lot of damage off now on the top turret. He might even get a few turret plates. It seems like at least on the other side, they will try to respond to the Dragon, but on the top side, there's going to be a lot of gold going down to Dynasty to the point where I think he's actually going to be able to secure probably 4 turret plates worth of gold.
Yeah, the turret plating definitely feels really good. We were talking about that in the last game, and I think that's part of the reason why they're still up 2k gold, despite the fact that the kills have been brought in pretty close by now.
Yeah, well, right now, the golds have, the gold has been kept pretty close, you're right, but right now, with this tower most likely will not go down. The amount of extra armor right now for the next few minutes does actually mean that it can withstand a lot of punishment, but just the fact that there was 640 gold extra being put onto Ali Dynasty means even though he might not necessarily win these fights against Poppy, he's able to retain so much lane pressure just from the amount of gold he's been able to pick up.
Well, yeah, you think that the fights end up being negligible, like you say at a point, and it looks like he's going to stun and walk away, as Ali knows that he has his number here. No stun means that he's only going to have to flash out to escape that one.
Yeah, and also not to mention, his teleport's actually just about to come up, so he won't even lose too much out of it. Might just wait in base until it comes back up. Likely, I think about, another like 4 seconds or so until it comes back up.
Man, that's every ability missed out of one Jumpy Boy there, as he doesn't exactly get the jump timed right. McShuggets is going to use the E to escape. Repel always feels good to have available.
Yeah, that's the one main point about this Elise, is that she always has a lot of good early game presence, having that repel and having that ability to just kind of, easily avoid certain bad situations like that. And especially right now, being 3-2-1 against the Gravis at 2-2-1. Ooh, hold on.
Yeah, that's a beautiful Fear Beyond Death there, as we almost didn't expect that kill to come in. The egg form isn't going to be enough here, as Urgot just deals so much single target damage. I actually don't think Logs has a way out of here, although the stun is going to be enough, and it looks like Murdoch's going to go in. The class goes out, and the wall keeps him in place, as Logbag stays alive with 8 HP.
Yeah, Logbag surviving by the skin of his teeth, managing to actually pull off the getaway from one. Ooh, True Shot Barrage just missing. And right now in the jungle, it seems like Elise is trying to do a little bit of counter jungling, but Gragas does have a good amount of damage.
Yeah. And it looks like that the Thresh is actually just there to save the Elise, throws out the hook, predicts the wrong direction, and that means that Aurelia is going to be the one who's trying to pressure now. All the turret platings have fallen, and that means that the standing gold is gone, and the red side's going to be sitting pretty with about a 3k gold lead in just platings.
Yeah, the gold lead is actually really big, and not to mention that the top lane turret did go down, so a little bit of global gold going around as well. And it looks like in the bottom lane, Alerion Game is actually trying to turn this around right now with Artillery, trying to get a little bit more damage down on that bot lane turret, maybe even taking it out, actually.
Yeah, and I wouldn't imagine that they actually take it out here because there is something of a defense standing there, but it's not the strongest defense either of us have ever seen.
Yeah, I actually think that if Artillery hadn't gone for the zap onto the Ezreal, they might have been able to just take the turret and walk away and get a little bit extra, but now it looks like they'll just take another wave, try to just keep the pressure down, and meanwhile in the top lane, still Ali Dynasty providing a lot of lane presence on this Aurelia, even though the Poppy has completed Sunfire Belt. Aurelia's starting to get a little bit big in terms of the amount of damage she can provide.
Yeah, Aurelia damage just starts to scale to ungodly amounts, but she actually does taper off in the late game unless she, stays 6 while other people are at 5 items.
Yeah, it does seem like that'll be the case, and right now we see one Jumpy Boy trying to move around to that bottom lane, maybe hoping that they would kind of be a bit more aggressive and try to push more into Thresh and Ezreal, but Jinx is well aware that she can't stay that long, so she does back. She completes that Storm Razor, which is a very big first item pickup, and then Flying Dutch in the meanwhile is getting a lot of that tier stacked right now, already about 2/3 of the way there to completing towards that Muramon.
Yeah, and that Maramona is a big pickup for the Ezreal. It doesn't look like he's actually going to be going double tier this game. I think he thinks that they can end before that would ever have to become a viable path.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said about that, and right now we need to try to look at the map.
No, he is going for that, isn't he?
Yeah, it seems that is the case, but at least right now, the thing to look at the map is kind of, Alerion Gaming right now is definitely down a lot. They're still down 3k gold, even with tower lead and dragon lead even. So what really needs to happen right now is they need to try to slow the pace a little bit. They're losing their second tower in the bottom lane, and Ezreal is still scaling, doing a lot of damage, but they need more time to scale. Jinx needs a second or third item. Anivia needs to stack up more of that tier, which she just picked
Ooh,
up.
the Ionia comes out though, and that's going to be a dead Chiron. Ooh, wow, his name came out weird. It looks like Thresh is actually going to pick up a hook here. Really nice prediction onto Poppy. She was walking around pretty sporadically, so that feels good. The True Shot Barrage does miss, as Elise is the one that goes forward and gets picked up by the ultimate. That means that the only person who can pick up the kill is the Ezreal, and Ezreal's going all the way in, and the auto attacks aren't enough. Oh my god, shouts out to Cuban, who just keeps on showing his strengths here. As Anivia does get beaten out of that, that's going to cancel her ultimate. Should be back up in another second. The cocoon lands, as here comes Murdoch. He misses the Q. The cast goes out. That's only going to shove him a little bit further. Catches the W, and Thresh flashes out. That's a beautiful play by Drops. I can't believe these are plat players.
Yeah, but right now, it's actually still going on. Gragas might go down.
Oh! Yeah, McShuggus shows exactly why you can't be walking around like that on Gragas, especially if you're going to go the damage path. He's actually incredibly squishy.
Yeah, not to mention that the Elise still has a lot of damage. We're only just starting to get into the mid-game points, and she's still very effective as a jungler, and kind of working these skirmishes to move around, especially with Drops, playing that so effectively, using the Flash Lantern to even get past the pre-predicted look-back wall from the Anivia.
Yeah, and it looks like we are going to be seeing another pick happen here, so that should be Ali Dynasty going down right now. Wow, the walls are just crumbling around the EcksDee castle.
Yeah, that is actually really nice that they were able to pick that up, because not only that, but that was actually a shutdown kill onto Aurelia and going into the pocket of Artillery, which right now is kind of one of their main win conditions as he scales up and maybe picks up, one or two Zeal items, is really big to start to get that rolling right now, as we're only about 18 minutes into the game without any major objectives such as Baron up.
Wow, it looks like we actually might be seeing another pick come out here onto one Jumpy Boy, who's actually able to get away. He's big enough. Lucky for him, he had a good early game.
Yeah, he had a really nice early game, and that Purge Shield always kind of doing its job, giving him just that little bit of extra survivability at the cost of move
There's
speed.
another missed Thresh hook, and that one's going to cost him because the bubble does land while he's standing still, gets hit up by the tidal wave, and unfortunately you can't lantern yourself to other people. That kill's going to be going over to the Jinx, sitting pretty at 2-0-2.
Yeah, and that's going to be...
That's another stun coming out of Anivia, and there's an ultimate too, as everyone just seems to be catching the work here. I don't know what happened with Alerion here, but they're playing like a different team in the last couple minutes of this game.
Yeah, Alerion this time is kind of playing their comp more to the extent of how they should. They're trying not to take crazy engages. They're not necessarily the ones starting these. They're more just looking for missteps out of EcksDee. Hold on. One Jumpy Boy's looking a little low.
Oh, yeah, that's the Fear Beyond Death, and I mean, it's going to go Egg here. That means that it's Cuban who plays on the defense here. The goalkeeper, Cuban, always there to protect the team.
Yeah, Cuban's been doing a really good job on this Poppy, being nearby his team, making sure that he can be there to kind of stop these crazy advances. And meanwhile, the Gragas is actually on the side, trying to get that Rift Herald down. And looks like this will be outer turret going into the
They might
hand.
actually get the turret before they know they won't. Unfortunately, Shelly forced to use one of her charges. Is going to go back into the tier 2. Thresh does land a hook, but everybody gets knocked back by a cask, and that's going to be the team fight that spells disaster, as Ali is able to pick up 2. Make something out of nothing, but at this point doesn't have the resets to go forward any longer. One Jumpy Boy goes forward with the E. That forces the flash out of Murdoch, and the bubble comes out. That's going to be all the disengage they need to
there's Logbag.
But Aurelia goes in after Ezreal picks off Anivia on the back end of this one, and it looks like that they're standing on the back foot now as they're trying to defend their outer mid.
Yeah, as beautiful as that play was at tower, it did unfortunately end up resulting in just a 2-for-2, and it looks like actually EcksDee will end up turning this around and getting that mid-outer turret. And right now, at 20 minutes into the game, EcksDee have a 4k gold, and they're pushing on this mid-inner tower.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they're actually going to be pushing in here. It looks like that's going to be a death going on to Cuban. Unfortunate for them. He's been doing a lot of work here. Murdoch, again, playing like he's a tank Gragas when he's actually a full AP Gragas. That's going to cost him.
Yeah, it really doesn't have the means to survive these engages, and right now that is both mid, inner, and outer turret going to the side of EcksDee and breaking open the map just a little bit at this point as they try to maybe see what else they can do. Ooh, hold on.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a slowdown onto Ali, and remember, most of the damage on the Anivia is just loaded up into that E.
Yeah, a lot of Anivia's damage has really come from that Frostbite, and as it seems like the Anivia is just about to work on finishing up this Archangel Staff, we need to look at this and say that we need to figure out what exactly Alerion can do. Jinx is starting to get ahead, and she even has, it seems like, a bit more gold than the Ezreal, but the amount of global gold right now it's been going over means that at least right now, Ezreal's only about 100 gold behind, whereas the rest of the positions, Urgot's about 1.5k ahead, the jungle is about 1k ahead, the top lane is 3,000 gold ahead on this Aurelia just due to that about 85 CS lead that Ali Dynasty's built up, and it's just getting so hard for Alerion to stay in these fights effectively.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to be seeing some interesting things come out of here as they're just like trying to secure their own jungle. I'm imagining everyone wants to play for this Baron right now, even though we're only 21 minutes in.
Yeah, the
Ezreal
Baron's
gonna take red.
Yeah, the Baron's definitely a big point of contention right now. It seems like both sides can make really good use out of it. And Nivea obviously, wants to make sure that EcksDee doesn't get it, because if EcksDee gets that Baron, it makes that that Glacial Storm so much less effective with the amount of magic damage resistance and slow resistance that minions get. Where meanwhile, Alerion Gaming themselves would love to be able to siege with that. They know that the side of EcksDee does not have a crazy amount of wave clear per se that they can really kind of counteract. So if they manage to pick up the Baron, they can siege very well and try to turn around this deficit they have right now.
Yeah, I imagine that's the way that you turn it around, and we just got to imagine or hope that they don't put on Baron feasting eyes, where that's the only thing they can think about doing.
Yeah, well, the other big thing to remember...
Oh, that's a
hold on.
beautiful cocoon, and that's going to force the engage out, as it looks like Cuban's going to be the one to go in. Elise has to land back on the same spot. Actually gets knocked away. That's going to save him as Aurelia goes in just to make sure that they do have a member on the front line. It looks like Dutchman's going to take down Nami on the back line. Ali's going to take out Anivia next, and it's looking like all Pandemonium is breaking out, as that's going to be a double kill going over to the Aurelia, who picks up Poppy, and the fight just gets disengaged.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful 3 for nothing going on the side of EcksDee Gaming, and it looks like this will be the Baron for them, which they should very, very easily pick up. The only really people available are the Gragas and the Jinx, which can both be easily burst down by this team comp if Aurelia decides to jump onto them, or even Urgot. And it looks like this will be an easy Baron, and this is so crucial right now for EcksDee.
Yeah, this is the Baron we were talking about. This one's massive, and it's, I think, going to solidify this game as Gragas dives in again. Murdoch just looking so sad, and even if he gets out here, he gets out into the enemy jungle, so he's probably better off to have died and lived than to have never lived at all.
Yeah, I think that Murdoch just kind of thought he could make the miracle steal. He had the smite ready, but unfortunately the extra bit of pressure, not to mention that one jumpy Boyd actually used his unsealed spellbook in order to get an extra smite off, meant they took that down so fast. And not to mention, this will be the 3rd Ocean Drake going over to EcksDee, which means not only do they have the Baron buff, but they can siege and skirmish and back off and then heal right back up after a short amount of time.
Yeah, and I mean, the next Ocean Drake, that puts them up at 3. That just means that everyone ostensibly has a Warmogs for mana and for HP. Let's just have a moment of silence.
What are we having a moment of silence for?
For the hopes and dreams of Alerion Gaming.
Ooh, that's a little bit harsh, but right now it's Nith actually trying to take a fight, try to get a little bit of damage on Ali Dynasty.
Yeah, this is the exact fight they want. They need to get a pick, because if it's extended, they're always going to come back, and it looks like Ali Dynasty is just too big that even with the extended time, even if he goes down, he deals large chunks of damage, and that's going to be telling, is to go down for just trolling. But they had to work for those kills, and they were super far out of position. We see a million question mark pings come down too.
Well, yeah, but it's actually not to mention that they also picked up the kill onto the Ezreal. Flying Dutch was actually taken down by Logbag. This is actually really, really big for them, because that's 2 key members down, especially those that are dealing the most amount of damage. Right now, one jumpy boy is going to get that inner turret, though, but he might get picked off for it, actually.
Yeah, it looks like Cuban is going to come in. Remember, Cuban's a member that we always have to keep our eyes on, because he's what I like to call a playmaker.
Yeah, it seems like they will just back off at this point. One jumpy boy, not going to take too much.
I mean, Dead Man's Plate's going to keep him going, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon, but Thresh will pull Urgot out, as I think they realized that Cuban has just got blood in his eyes.
Yeah,
in his heart.
Yeah, Cuban was really looking to pick up was really trying to pick up something there, especially after the picks onto McShuggets and Flying Dutch, which just means that that their siege isn't quite as super as they might want it to be. But right now, we do have to look at the map and try to think of what they can do, because they are 8,000 gold behind. And the big thing that I'm seeing is that there's a top lane outer turret that still hasn't really taken that much damage. It's only taken about maybe to half. And from that alone, it seems like the map hasn't really been able to be opened up for Alerion Gaming. They haven't really been able to use their bits of scaling that they're starting to build up as we get into the end of the mid game.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it. They definitely haven't opened this map up for themselves, and because of that, the objectives have just all except for this one Cloud Drake gone over to the side of EcksDee.
Yeah, EcksDee really needs to try to figure out what they can do because right now the Baron shouldn't be lasting much longer. I think it is about halfway done at this point. But
As
Urgot's
that's
looking...
the ultimate landing onto the wrong person. Jinx is sitting on the back, feared beyond death. But there's nothing that can hurt her, and it looks like they're going to be picking out Urgot here. And as big as he can get, he's going to be forced to flash forward. He's setting out some charges. The shield's going to keep him alive. Everyone is forward, and that's everything used on him. It doesn't matter. As Cuban gets picked, they extend far too forward for a pick that they could never get. And it looks like that it's Ali Dynasty now who's getting beaten up by the Anivia. Never really had a chance. Gonna force the egg out. And Logbag feels really good about that engagement.
Yeah, One Jumpy Boy was actually able to survive, but he held on to the cleanse for so long and managed to actually use it when the Nine Bubble came down. It was just like to keep them away, where meanwhile, Strawberry Cuban, thinking that he was CC, was trying to go in for the charge, but stepped a bit too far forward, took the thresh hook, and as soon as he did, McShugget's followed up with a cocoon to set up a beautiful pick.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to be seeing some weird types of engagements happening here on the top side, as Anivia, without that egg, is susceptible to so much damage, as Dutchman's the one to take him out. Murdoch is stunned up, the Repel comes down, and Murdoch gets eaten by Anivia. And Meshuggets is getting shot down by the Jinx Nami combo, but honestly, no damage is going to be enough to stop the onslaught that EcksDee has waiting for them.
Yeah, their Baron buff did expire, so they're not exactly invincible right now, but they can do a lot of damage, and it seems like they might just look to pick off... Ooh, hold on a second. Wait, yeah, they are just going to go for this inhibitor. Looks like they're just going to try to take that and back
That's a
off,
nice
not push for
bubble.
too much. Yeah, inhibitor does go down.
That's officially the base cracked open.
Yeah, that is the base cracked open, and that is a nice 11k solid gold lead on the side of EcksDee. And you have to look at this, and I think that their only real point of contention right now for Alerion Gaming is gonna have to be through Artillery. If he can manage to maybe build up this third item, let's say he's going for the Infinity Edge. If he can manage to build up, he might be able to do something for the rest of these fights. But the thing is that the amount of damage that they can siege on these towers, having these Ocean Drakes and being able to just kind of sit back and keep their mana and health high with something like the Ezreal and the Essence Flux. Hold on, we gotta fight.
Yeah, and it looks like the bubble's not going to land as the Ionia Spirit comes down, and it's going to be Ali Dynasty getting knocked away by that hammer from Poppy. Anivia fishing for the stun almost feels like we have a Zoe in the game, honestly.
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way a little bit. She's able to dive in and do so much damage and just pop herself right back out. Luckily, that time, Strawberry Cuban actually probably saved her. I think if they had managed to turn her, they might have been able to pick something up. But at the very least, they do currently keep their tower right now for Alerion Gaming, but it's not going to last for long.
Yeah, we hear those war winds coming down from Anivia, and every time you hear them start up, we know it's going to be a problem. This Cuban's going to smash him into the wall, forced to flash out. Anivia's on the back line trying to get Dicron. Heals and shields come up. That's going to be enough to keep him alive, and Ali's going to go down on the back foot. That means it's McShugget's next who's caught out of position.
Artillery
Not
getting
in the
excited.
base gate. I know it doesn't look like it's there, but it is. And that's going to be Jinx. Oh, sorry, Anivia actually picking up the kill. Jinx and Poppy dealing the damage.
Yeah, Jinx, right now, he completed that Infinity Edge, which means he does so much damage with these rockers. But hold on, Dicron going a bit too far forward.
Yeah, that's just going to be a straight-up pick, as you have no business being in your own jungle here, and everybody else knows it as question mark pings come down from the other team. Even they're wondering what you're doing there.
Yeah, it seems like Dicron was hoping to get some vision out and be sure that they weren't necessarily too far in their own jungle, but completely didn't even think about the fact that he might have gotten picked off there. As the Jinx Rock goes a little bit too early, it doesn't pick up anything from that Drake, but it does get a little bit of damage on the One Jumpy Boy.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give him credit for being able to keep the game up, but I really like to see them end soon, because there comes a point where all the Drakes in the world aren't going to end the game for you.
Well, they might just be trying to wait for the Elder Drake. Right now, with seeing that Drake is down, Elder Drake will not be the next one spawn, but it will be a second Infernal, which will actually be really big for them if they do manage to get that. It's obviously just more damage, more to give away. But even more importantly, if for some reason Alerion Gaming is able to pick it up, it means that this Jinx, this Anivia that's been scaling up, just kind of gets a little bit of a damage boost. And especially right now, with Anivia having completed the Morello Nomicon, means that it's actually going to be a lot harder, even for Ali Dynasty to survive in these fights, as well as the Ezreal that seems to be going towards that Hextech Gunblade, actually. Very, very spicy build.
And it looks like that Drops is going to be the one getting dropped here, as that Ignite is just impossible to run away from.
Ooh, Fury on
definitely
death used
feels
up.
good getting away here. It looks like the cast is just going to knock everybody away. Murdoch is just constantly using the Zonias to evade death for a couple of extra seconds.
Yeah, but Relic is actually in the bottom lane right now, fighting with Strawberry Cuban. He just took that bot inhibitor tower. He's actually going to try to go for a second inhibitor right now as the rest of the teammates try to run back to their base.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if he can pull this one off, as, I mean, he's been losing so much, but he comes out with a full health bar. That feels so bad if you're Cuban, who's been playing this game so well. He deserves to be winning that fight, let's be honest.
Yeah, it seems like that, but meanwhile, it looks like EcksDee is actually going to use this advantage they built up, and they're going to take down the Baron. They know that Murdoch's down. They know that the rest of the team just retreated to the base, and right now, even so, Ali Dynasty is actually still here running interference. Means this Baron will go down uncontested. Ali will not only get out unscathed, but will have gone out with that pick on the Strawberry Cuban as well. And looks like he's actually still going to try to stay and take down this bottom inhibitor.
Yeah, so the beginning of the end came about, I say 2-3 minutes ago. And we're finally at the point where the end has come knocking on the doors. They're not even going to back here. They're just going to come marching into the base. I honestly think they can just play Aram here. Please don't back Urgot unless you have TP. Does he have TP?
Yes. Oh, wait, no, he hasn't spelled. Yeah, he has spelled, so he might use it.
We'll pretend TP's coming out, just for my sanity.
Well, even so, right now it seems like they're more than willing to just kind of let the map reset. Right now, Aurelia's still pushing that bottom lane, so they have constant pressure, and the lanes are going to build up no matter what. It seems like they're more just content to let the map build up, so they can make sure they get their proper items, and then try to force a 5v5.
Okay, that's a really fair way to put it. And I mean, at least we're going to hope that that's what happens here. As we know, sometimes it just doesn't always work out the way that we envision it in our heads.
Well, at least right now they still have that pressure built. The top lane wave was built up, and it looks like it was a super minion wave originally. And that inhibitor should be respawning very soon. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, you can see that inhibitor tower is down to about half HP, and they know that they have to try to push out a little bit, but they also don't want to be leaving outside of their base. They have almost no vision on their side of the map besides what's immediately outside their base. So they're actually kind of too scared to even really move around. And especially after Dicron's last instance of trying to get vision and then just getting picked in his own jungle, even he doesn't really want to go too much farther than the vision line.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to stay behind your vision line. This is actually the first thing I think you should really teach people who are playing for the first time in a competitive environment. It looks like Murdoch is going to be the one to go all the way in now, and McShuggets is the one caught between a whole team of people. Finally, they're going to get a pick, and it feels like life has been bred back into the Alerion gaming side, as this is going to force a full retreat out of XC.
Yeah, unfortunately, they weren't together as a 5-mix. Aurelia's trying to push his bottom lane.
Oh, Aurelia's just going to get the stun, though. That's onto two of them. We see her start dashing around as this is really one jumpy boy.
Vanguard's edge goes wide.
Dynasty's Gage gets Prog knocked up and backed around, and that's going to be the second death going over. It feels like misstep after misstep for EcksDee might cost them, but they still get another inhibitor turret. So at what point do one of these problems actually cost them something?
Yeah, it seems like right now they are getting a lot back, and it seems like EcksDee are just underestimating the ability that they have. Like we were saying earlier, right now, Alerion Gaming, they have the scaling comp, they have the more late game comp, and even though they may not be ahead, they are at that late game point, and Nivea deals with a lot of damage. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, I thought we'd get a fight here, but instead they're just going to stand on top of the Anivia wins. And that means one well-placed D is going to do it. That's shutdown goal going over. It almost feels like EcksDee wants a game 3 the way they're playing right now, as they are just getting routed out with all the advantages in the world. As Drops is forced to flash away now. He's going to hope to escape, forced to use the box, but he still gets hit up by a bubble as Nami matches flashes, and that's another kill going over to Drinks. Cuban's keeping Dutchman in the fight as Elise is going to pick this one up. She goes forward, probably a misstep, as Jinx is excited and running out of the wayside. It looks like that wall is going to be enough to stop him, but Shuggets is going to be forced to flash out, and they're going to be glad using that flash for wall.
Yeah, McShuggets went super far forward and almost got himself killed in the process. And at the end of the day, that actually ended up being a fight in the favor of Alerion Gaming. That Glacial Storm from the Anivia is providing so much damage onto one jumpy boy as soon as he used that disdain to move forward. And meanwhile, Jinx, 9, 1, and 5 and has 4 items completed. This Jinx is a monster and is going to stay that way, especially with that Blast Whisper pickup. Just means that she can deal so much damage in these fights, and especially when she's not necessarily focused.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing to remember too, is when she's not necessarily being focused that she's dealing the most damage. But whenever she starts to get excited, I think it just doesn't matter if focus or no focus, she's gonna pop off.
Yeah, so that's really the thing. So the main problem is that Ali Dynasty right now needs to actually be grouped up with his team. He's staying a lot on this bottom side, constantly being solo, but the problem is that he really needs to be the one they use to take down Artillery on this Jinx. And as long as he's kind of doing this and splitting himself...
Oh, looks like we're going to get something. The Nami is just so damn good. Forces another flash out just out of good plays alone.
Yeah, and that's really what the problem is right now, is that Ali's trying to split this bottom lane. He's trying to put pressure on this bottom lane here, but he keeps being split off. And as soon as he stays that far away, the rest of his team may be in the base, but right now they know they can retreat. They know that they have that kind of defender's advantage. It looks like he's trying to actually come by in the flank. Looks like there's going to be another fight breaking out.
Yeah, it looks like we are getting the knock-up and the back down. That means Thresh is going to be the pick here, as Drops is only going to pull one in. True Shopalaz does land. That's going to be Murdoch going down as Elise is in the middle of everybody, but gets knocked away by Cuban. The stun's going to hurt as it's Ali who's now trying to fight Anivia on the bot side, just tanking up the turret while she does it. Logbag can't get up to even do anything about that. Ezreal's going to be soloing down the Nami. And with Nami dead and Anivia gone, I don't think the wave clear or the defense is there, and this is going to be the game going over to XD.
Yeah, this is mostly going to be the rest of the series going down to XD. They definitely have the pressure advantage. They have the
Oh,
minions.
wait, it looks like Jinx is just getting enough damage down. She might be able to do it. Looks like she places her E just a little bit too close. That's not going to catch anybody. Dodges the thresh hook. That's really big. Gets excited now. She has a chance. She's running, but she doesn't have a turret to run to. Gets stunned up, and that's going to spell the end here. Oh, the GAs can't do it. You just can't. And she gets beaten up by the Urgot and the Ezreal. That's going to spell the game as XD put on one hell of a showing for game 1, week 1.
Yeah, that's a perfectly executed game. And they really went in and they played their comp to their effectiveness. They knew they had the better early game. They knew they had more they can do in these fights. The Elise by McShuggets was so good along the map. Was able to constantly counter gank Murdoch on this Gragas, even though he went for the more damage-heavy route. And extremely well played by XD for this first week.
Yeah, this was just non-stop action, fight after fight after fight. It didn't matter if your teammates had cooldowns or if they had cooldowns. It was just action the whole way through. And I mean, some picks are going to thrive in that and others aren't. I think that's why we see Aurelio was probably the best pick of the series on either side. Although Flying Dutchman 10-2 can't be overlooked.
Yeah, Ali Dynasty definitely played this really well. Flying Dutchman, he did his job on the Ezreal. He got the tiers stacked. He was able to deal his damage. Even with that Hextech Gunblade actually made him a bit more self-sufficient, meaning that in these fights, when kind of drops had to kind of go around to the rest of his team or he got kind of caught forward, Flying Dutchman wasn't at risk of dying. He knew he had the healing. He knew he had his own kind of self-sustaining way out. But you have to also give a lot of credit to Artillery on this Jinx. Did not go down until the end of that fight, and one bad death early, 11-2 and 5. If he had gotten that 5th item and maybe had slightly better positioning with the rest of his team, he might have actually managed to turn this game around by himself.
Honestly, Elrond feels like that they could be a good team. They just need to probably consolidate themselves a little bit better and find out ways to establish vision in their jungle for games like that, because they know what to do and they have the intel. It just felt like that they didn't know how to properly set up the positions so that way they could always have the intel.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how they do next week. But that is going to be it from us here. A 2-0 for XD over Alerion Gaming. And that is going to be, I believe this is the last game of the week for Prophecy Cup Week 1. So please thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for next week for all the games coming up. Take care.